Hi, everyone. It is Thursday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. That means it's PCBL and technology time here at UEN. I am so excited to be here with you today. We've got a great presentation, some really amazing, interesting ways of using technology, and a technology that's available to all Utah teachers. And some really cool ways for PCBL. So we'll get into that in a couple minutes. First off, my name is Matt Winters. I'm very excited to be here with you today to talk about PCBL, personalized competency-based learning, and how we can use technology to meet the goals in our classrooms and in our schools. A couple things as we get going, folks. As always, if you've watched these before, we have a website that we are working off of for every session. And if for some reason you do miss a session, these are always recorded and go onto this webpage immediately after they're recorded. The website is go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase W, and the number 7. And if you missed that and I move away from this page, don't stress. It's right there at the bottom of the page for you. I'm going to leave it up there for a little bit. On this page, you're going to find the flyer for the rest of the sessions. After today, we only have 2 left. I can't believe we're 75% of the way done. Next week, we have eMedia on 5/5, May 5th, and then Microsoft on the 12th. And as always, I've said this a couple of weeks running, May 12th, we got kind of a special announcement at the end. So make sure that you are there for that session. We got some really cool things going on. Down below, you're going to find my contact information, some links to my email and my social media. Feel free to follow me to ask questions, or if you want to talk PCBL, I would love to do that as well. You're going to find all the video presentations down below and a wakelet of all of the UEN tools. UEN helps the state of Utah with a lot of tech rollouts and managing technology tools. All of the technologies that we're talking about here at UEN, or in the series, are tools that we help support at UEN, and you can find links to all of those on this wakelet, as well as you can find our social media right next to our Twitter. Lots of great things always shared out through the local community and the statewide community to make sure that you know what's going on. So feel free to follow us at UEN News to get more information. In the top left corner, you're going to find a link to the webinar sessions. These have all the sessions thus far, including today's PCBL and Adobe, which, again, so excited. We'll get to that here in just a minute with Rob. We have a great presentation lined up for you for the next half hour. But if you're interested, all the other weeks are already up there. So you got Google, Canvas, Nearpod, and Utah's online library, as well as a great technology kickoff with Michael from the Digital Teaching and Learning Office at Utah State Board of Education. He did a great overview of what is PCBL. So if you're going, where do I start with personalized learning? Where do I start with competency-based learning? What's the next step for me as an educator? That's a great starting point. Then you can jump into the technology that maybe is already in your classroom. On each one of those pages, I'll just go into Google really quick. You're going to find the product manager or trainer's name at UEN and their contact information. So if you have more questions, links to some interesting ideas kind of globally about personalized competency-based learning or the technology tool at UEN, and then some tangible classroom things that we can do to start building PCBL awareness and using it in our classrooms to really create some great things that are going on. So feel free, again, to share this webinar or the webinar series, but also all of the resources on this website. We collect them for you, and we want to make sure that those are things that really help you out and build some great things in Utah schools. So today, I'm so excited about this. Adobe has been long been a part of my creative life. Photoshop, Lightroom, creating things with students, creating things for myself. And I love to know that it is a valuable tool for Utah teachers and something that we can all use. And so right now I'm going to bring in our trainer at UEN, our product manager, which is Rob Bentley. Nice to see you, Rob.
Hi, Matt. Nice to see you as well. Thanks for inviting me on.
Absolutely. Happy to have you here. So first off, I think you already know this. I think a lot of teachers who use Adobe already know this, but Adobe kind of carries this heavy learning curve weight for a lot of people. Oh no, I have to learn Photoshop or Premiere or Illustrator. What would you say to teachers to start off with who are brand new to Adobe and maybe using it for the first time in the classroom to get them hooked on it?
Yeah, excellent question. You're right. Adobe does have a reputation of, being kind of complicated and having a high learning curve. I would just say First of all, there are a couple of tools that have a very low learning curve. You can quickly get started using them. And the good news, I think, for teachers is that they have easy applications to the classroom. And so these two tools are both, pretty quickly you can learn how to use them and even master them if you dedicate a little time to it. And also they're very useful. So one of those is Adobe Creative Cloud Express, which was built for the classroom. It was for students to use, and also teachers. Since then, it's kind of broadened, and so it's anyone really can use it now for a variety of purposes. But it really was created with students in mind. So that's one, and I'll show a little bit more about that as we get into the session today.
That's fantastic, and I could not agree with you more. I started using it when it was called Spark, which, so if you've ever heard of Adobe Spark, Creative Cloud Express is the evolution, I think would be the term, Rob. Would you disagree with me on that?
I think that's right. Yeah.
And it's such a cool tool. I've been loving Adobe. Their creative team on social media has this monthly challenge, and every month I learn something new through that creative challenge. It's amazing. Here in Utah, if a teacher wants to learn more about using Adobe in their classroom or has questions about using Adobe in their classroom, is there somewhere that they can go at UEN? Are there some resources that we can direct them to?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a website, uen.org/Adobe. And I have a slide that kind of, shows that a little bit, a little later. And there you can learn, how to access Adobe. You can learn about, which schools and districts are using it the most. And also there's updates. You can learn what's the latest, Adobe news. And so that's a good place to go, uen.org/Adobe. And then also at UEN, we teach a couple of classes. There's a couple of courses available for Utah teachers. And there's a Adobe Creative Educator Level 1, or ACE Level 1. And that's the short way to say it. And then there's ACE Level 2. And these are free courses. Even if you just take Level 1, you'll get up to speed on how to use Adobe and how to access really dozens of Adobe tools. Your previous question about the learning curve, that's actually one of the things I love about Adobe is, yes, there's a couple of these tools that you can get started with right away, but it does ramp up, and you can go from some basic tools that are very useful, very practical, to some very advanced tools, professional level tools. And as you and as students use these tools, they are literally, learning the tools of the profession, several different professions. Professional web designers use these. Hollywood uses a lot of these tools. So anyway, basically, those are a couple of ways that you can learn more by taking one of our courses or by going to uen.org/Adobe and just diving into what's available from Adobe.
I love that, Rob. And I love those the ACE courses, the Adobe Creative Educator courses. I started teaching a photography course through our yearbook class at my school that I worked at before UEN. And I was a little afraid because Photoshop was not, I knew Lightroom really well. Photoshop, I knew a little bit. I wanted to learn more. And so I took the ACE courses, Level 1 and Level 2, and then started doing some of the other courses that are not offered necessarily through UEN, but through Adobe's learning platform. And I found them to be addictive. I wanted to do one a week if I could, because they were just so much fun to learn Illustrator or Photoshop or Premiere or whatever's kind of out there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So with that said, Rob, I'm sure everyone else is excited. I'm very excited to see what kind of things we can do with Adobe to meet the goals of PCBL in our classrooms. So I'd love to jump in and see what kind of resources you have for us.
Yeah, I'm excited to share some of these with you. The first thing I wanted to just kind of mention is um, a connection to Bloom's taxonomy. I know a lot of us as teachers are familiar with Bloom's. If you look at the very top of Bloom's taxonomy, asking your students to create is considered, one of the most beneficial things you can do for your students to help them learn. Asking students to produce new or original work, to design, assemble, construct, all of these things. If you're asking your students to do these things with the content of your course, um, you're providing them just wonderful opportunities to grow and to learn. It's not enough anymore. I don't know that it ever was enough to just ask our students to remember what we've taught them, or even to just understand it. Asking them to create with the math content or the language arts content or science, or I was a Spanish teacher and also a language arts teacher. To ask them just to remember Spanish, that's not enough. They need to be creating with the content that we teach in our classes. And Adobe Tools provides our students with that ability, and lots of ideas and tools to help them do that. I wanted to just show a couple of those resources that we referred to earlier. This is the website uen.org/Adobe, where you'll get video tutorials, you'll get all sorts of information about Adobe Create Utah, which is this partnership that the Utah State Board of Education and Adobe have made for the state of Utah, making all of these Adobe tools available to all Utah teachers and to students grades 7 through 12. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. If you teach elementary, you can still use these tools with your students, but it would be much more teacher directed, teacher focused, right? You wouldn't just send the students out to work on their own because they don't have their own accounts for this. But there's still lots of opportunities for you to use it in a more teacher-centered way. So real quick, I just wanted to address, okay, well, if I'm interested, how do I get started using Adobe? How do I access it, these tools? For the most part, most of the Adobe tools, almost all of them, you're going to want to access through Creative Cloud. Okay, now this is different than Adobe Creative Cloud Express. It's a little different. The full Creative Cloud, you can get up with it by going to adobe.com/creative cloud. You'll be prompted to log in, and it's important that you log in with your school email address. Okay, and you'll need to, once you've done that, you'll need to verify. Okay, and different schools have different ways of verifying. So if you have any trouble with that, I'd recommend that you reach out to your school or district technology specialist, and they can help you through through that and kind of troubleshoot what might be the difficulty. But most people that I present this to, they try this with their school email address, and they generally use the same password they use to log into, all of their school stuff, and it works. But again, if there's any trouble, talk with your district or tech or school tech people. And then what you'll want to do is download Adobe Creative Cloud to your computer. Okay, and it's basically just an environment. It looks like what you see here in the upper right, at least on a Mac, and it's pretty similar on Windows. And it's just an environment in which you can choose what to download to your computer, what to install, which programs you want to uninstall or keep. And it just keeps that all synced and updated. Okay, so you'll want to get that. Once you've got this Adobe Creative Cloud installed on your computer, you're ready to go at that point. You can start downloading programs. Okay, so here's just a taste of some of the tools that are available to Utah educators and students. Some of these are very famous. You've probably heard of Photoshop and Illustrator and maybe Dreamweaver and some of these others. But there's so many wonderful tools here that really will inspire a lot of student creativity. And like I said before, many of these are professional tools. They're the real deal. Like, this is what professionals use in most cases. So, any
Rob, I just
questions?
want to, oh, sorry, Rob, just want to add really quick. I love that screen because I think a lot of teachers think, again, Adobe, there's Photoshop, Illustrator, there's a couple tools, but once you see the whole ecosystem of tools and what they can do, like you were listed two of my favorites on the previous screen, Arrow and Character Animator, just amazing tool sets. Talk about choice, talk about personalization, letting your students really explore their creativity. This is your tool set. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll give you an example of that in a couple of minutes here. So I wanted to just kind of steer you toward a couple of these tools that you could use to get started. Even if you have zero experience with Adobe products, I think these two tools are a great starting point. The first is Adobe Creative Cloud Express. And if you recall, I said, in most cases, this is how you would access Adobe tools. You'd get Adobe Creative Cloud, install the product, and go that way to access, these programs. And that you could do that for Adobe Creative Cloud Express, or this is one of the few exceptions, you can just go to a website. Okay, this is a cloud-based program. So you can just go to adobe.com/express to get signed in. And I'll do this in just a minute and kind of show you a few of the things you can do with it. But basically, there's a whole collection of projects that basically there's templates already set up for you. And you or your students could click on any one of these, let's say a poster, okay? And it would be, the dimensions would be set up properly, and a bunch of tools would be available to you or your students to build your poster. A collage, a book cover, a flyer, and on and on. I mean, this is just a small a small taste of what's available there. So just thinking about PCBL, I think one of the keys with PCBL is kind of allowing students to decide how to demonstrate learning, right? Like, the content is important. I need my students to learn this content in Spanish, or that, that concept in Spanish. That's important, but how do they demonstrate that they've learned it? One thing I love about Adobe Creative Cloud Express is I can send students to this tool, and they can decide. They can decide to show how they understand, past tense verb conjugations, in Spanish. They could build a poster explaining it, or they could make a video explaining it. Any number of other options. So I'll show you how this works in just a few minutes. But some of the types of projects you can make in Adobe Creative Cloud Express that I love, there's three basic kinds, and then many variations on them. But you can use it to create web graphics. For a while, I used Adobe Creative Cloud Express to make all of my banners for my courses. Okay, and it's super easy. This one, I know it's not particularly wonderful looking, but this took me like literally 30 seconds to create when I built that. Creative Cloud Express just makes it easy to do that. You can use it to create web pages. Okay, here's one that I created for my my family. We went on a trip to Bryce Canyon a few years ago, and with Creative Cloud Express, you can make a beautiful looking web page quite easily. And it's, of course, being slow to load, but I'll let it load, and hopefully I'll be able to show that to you here Okay, so this is an example of the kind of thing you can create with Adobe Creative Cloud Express. Just a simple web page, but it's got beautiful effects where you can zoom in on some of the photos that you have there. You could embed videos and pictures, just all sorts of great options. And then you can also create narrated slideshows that are fantastic. So those are just some examples of the types of projects you can make. And again, picture your students having choice, being able to decide, how they're going to demonstrate, that they understand and have read Romeo and Juliet, for example, in ninth grade. I taught ninth grade English. Instead of saying everyone's going to, write a poem about Romeo and Juliet, or everyone's going to, you know, do this worksheet to prove that they read the play, why not have the students create something in Adobe Creative Cloud Express? It personalizes it to them. They can do something that they're excited about. Okay.
Rob, I absolutely love that. One of the resources you direct us to, I know we'll get to the site resources here in a couple minutes, but you talk a little bit about portfolios and building portfolios with students to show student work, and Adobe Creative Cloud, that puts all of that in one spot where the students can create presentations, their banners, personalize a website, put all their content in one place, and build a portfolio that they can share with their class that exemplifies all their work and their choice in the class. I love that.
Yeah, that's a good example of what we're talking about. That portfolio aspect is important, and works really well with PCBL. So the other tool I want to just quickly mention is Adobe Character Animator. What this is it's a separate tool from Creative Cloud Express. This is one that you would need to install on your computer. But what you can do is you can choose from several characters, or you can even create your own character. By selecting different characteristics, you can make your own character, and then you can make that character mimic you. Basically, you map it to your face, and if you move your head, the character moves its head. The mouth matches your mouth, and you can press record and record the character speaking with your voice. So again, imagine what you could do with this with students. You could have students using this to to become a character, basically, from a book, or to explain a concept that they've learned in class. Just lots of different options and possibilities for how you could use this with your students. There's lots of other great tools we could talk about in if we had more time, but at this point I wanted to just quickly pull up Creative Cloud. So this is Creative Cloud, the tool that I said that you should install on your computer, because then it enables you to decide which apps, which tools you want to install or update or uninstall. So these are some that I don't have installed right now, and I can just click the install button to get them. Okay, these are the ones I do have installed for now. And then here in the upper left, I do have a button that takes me to Creative Cloud Express. Okay, so I'm going to click that, click Get Started, and it takes me to Creative Cloud Express. This is the one that I told you, it's the web-based tool. So anyway, this is it. And I can start a project, or my students could start a project just by clicking on one of these. Let's say flyer or book cover. And then you can click that arrow to move over and look at a bunch of other options. There's even a resume builder. But if you want to go with flyer, you could just click to open that up. And then students have tools here at the right. I can add backgrounds just by clicking and then selecting the type of background. I can add animations. And then here at the side, there's some templates, some pre-made templates that you could use. Okay, maybe not speed dating. But you could choose, one of these templates, and then all you have to do is select the text and then replace it. Okay. And there's a couple of different ways you can replace the text. I'll just go here to the upper right. Okay. And autocorrect is having a field day. But anyway, you can just type that in and it updates the template. I have tutorials on the UEN website. If you go to uen.org/Adobe, I have a tutorial showing you how to use these tools. So feel free, to check that out. I hope you will. But when you're done, you can share these projects a couple of different ways. You can share here in the upper right just by clicking the share button, and you can publish. You can also send it to Google Drive, etc. But students could turn this project into you simply by clicking the publish button, and then they could either email it to you, or they could just copy the link, post it in Google Classroom or Canvas, and that way they're sending it to you so that you can grade it and look at it. In many cases, you can also download the project to your computer. So you choose what kind of a document you want. You click Start Download, and it puts a copy of it on your computer. Now, again, this is just one type of project that you or your students could make in Creative Cloud Express. We have more here in the upper left. If you click on this plus sign, you can create videos, narrated videos. You can create web pages like I showed, the one I made of our trip to Bryce Canyon. So check out the website where there's full tutorials on these tools. But I just love Adobe Creative Cloud Express. It's a wonderful way to get students creating with the content that you teach in your class. I know we're running out of time, but here we have Adobe Character Animator. You can make a puppet, a customized puppet, or you can choose one here in the library, one that is kind of pre-made. And this is a lot of fun. It's a great way to get students excited about the content and about what you're teaching. As you can see, this character's kind of mapped to my face. But here in the upper right, if I were to calibrate, if my camera wasn't being used right now to teach this presentation, then I would be able to access my camera, and it would map to my face. And anytime I moved my head, the character's head would move. It's just a really fun way to have students demonstrate the learning that they've done. I mentioned that you can record these. You can just press this button here underneath the character, the little record button, and it gives you a countdown. And then whatever you say is recorded, and whatever the character does is recorded and saved to your computer. I mentioned that earlier that these tools, they're not available for students K through 6. And that's true. The students can't have their own accounts, but teachers can. So if you teach 5th grade, if you teach 6th grade, you could certainly get Adobe Character Animator, install it on your computer, and you could do a class project together, where you have students working with you to produce a project in Adobe Character Animator. So that's just one example of how you could use it with younger students. So again, if you want to learn more about this, there's tutorials on the website, and I hope you'll check it out. uen.org/Adobe. I guess.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Oh, I know we're running a little short on time. There's just one other kind of thought I wanted to put out there. One thing that I think is also important about PCBL is just allowing some differentiation and some kind of just different pacing for different students. when I was a Spanish teacher, that was something that I sometimes struggled with. And I think all teachers struggle with. How do I allow my students who may already have mastered the content, to keep learning, right? Because people learn maybe at different pace or a different, speed. And so I didn't want to hold back some students so that I could help the others get caught up and things like that. And my answer to that was often technology. That technology was a way to enable all students in my class to continue to learn. Okay, and um, I think that Adobe tools are particularly good at that. You can have your students that have already mastered the content. They can demonstrate that they've learned the content maybe by using Photoshop or using Character Animator or Premiere Rush or Premiere Pro, one of these tools that's kind of a little harder, and so they'd have to really delve into it and learn the tool. They're still learning, right? They're still advancing and progressing. And then maybe other students that are still kind of struggling with the Spanish, we can work on that, and they can also use technology. I'm not going to say they can't use technology, but maybe they choose a different technology tool. Maybe they're using Adobe Creative Cloud Express or Character Animator. But I just love that ability that we have with tools like Adobe to let students choose how they're going to continue learning. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it does to me. So
Absolutely, Rob. That's a beautiful way to finish. And I was just going to add, when you got to the end of, and you kind of jumped it for us, is you did some great work going out and finding some ways on our website, the ways to kind of have students demonstrate learning, some examples of student portfolios, and some videos for students to actually build out and be able to choose the level that they're at within the project or within the area of tools that you're going to allow your students to personalize their work. So I absolutely love those. I'm going to direct everyone to our site, which again is go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase W, and the number 7, and grab some of those resources, share them out with your fellow teachers, and let's get Adobe going in your classrooms, because it's not something, again, to be scared of. It's something that really can help up your creativity as a teacher, but also your students' ability to personalize their learning. Thank you so much for being here today, Rob. I appreciate your time and your expertise on this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to do it, and encourage everybody to check out these Adobe tools and use them with your students.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Rob. We're going to just quickly go over a couple things at the end here, folks. Just a couple of reminders. On our site here, folks, all of the resources from this website are at go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase W, and the number 7. There's going to be, my internet's being a little bit slow, but there's a flyer on here for the upcoming sessions next week. 3:30 p.m. You're going to find us talking to Katie Blunt at UEN about eMedia, which is an amazing tool for sharing lesson plans and getting some ideas going between teachers to support PCBL. And then the week after, we're going to be meeting with Kayla Towner about Microsoft. So feel free to come join us. This webinar is recorded, so feel free to share it out with all your teachers, and it's linked with all the resources. With that said, thank you so much for your time today, for joining us. If you're watching this, thank you so much for watching it. And afterwards, feel free to reach out to me at mwinters@uen.org with any questions about PCBL, technology, or anything with this web series. We'll see you next Thursday. Thank you so much.